ready? Let's get this thing started. Oh my god. Let's start from the beginning. Are you all hearing this for the first time, or did you listen to it a bit?
I'm hearing this for the very first time.
It's very acidy.
It's giving me like Super Mario Bros. Vibes.
It's giving me Snail's House vibes.
Oh, like the dubstep guy?
Yeah.
The chiptune stuff was unexpected, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. The dun 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 reminds me of, there's like an old, like a hip hop song. It's like dun 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 dun. I don't know what song that is, but I kind of want to do this thing where I want you to guess what you think the original song sounds like, because these are all remixes.
That's gonna be impossible.
Yeah, I could not make a guess at all. I have no idea.
So I did a little research during when I was making the songs, and also just right now to kind of check what the rest of them sounded like. And I've pulled up the videos for all of the original songs, so I want to show you.
Oh shit!
This is the original song.
It's the drum beat from the original song?
Look how old this is, or it looks old. It says 71 though. You hearing it now?
Yeah.
Dude, this is like the Russian periphery with 3 guitars and a bass player.
I don't know if this is a question more for when you talk about your remixes, but did you get sent like stems or anything, or was it like just the whole track?
That is a good question. I'm actually going to talk about that, so let's come back to it.
Nice.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh shit.
Okay, I think you guys get the point. I'll link these later.
This might sound super specific, but you know how sometimes in the games there are like arcade machines where you can play games in it?
Yeah.
That track reminded me of something like that, where you play the game like it's probably a shooter or like a Galactica type of game.
Yeah.
And the music kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, it kind of does. Actually, after putting in, I've only put in 4 hours maybe. It's like kind of the intro. I haven't made it to the first boss yet of Atomic Heart, but there's a lot of like radios and stuff that play the original songs in the background. Yeah. There's a really good moment. This isn't really a spoiler. It's just a moment of like side dialogue where you listen to a radio that's playing and your character asks the glove like, "Hey, what's going on with their voice? Like this music is cool." And the song has like auto-tune on the person's voice, and the glove is like, "Oh, like we've come up with this mathematical formula that helps us tap into the radio of the future." So they literally are playing a lot of these songs, because the game takes place in like 55 or something. A lot of these songs didn't happen till the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They have to explain why the music is playing, and they're like, "Oh, because we're reaching into the future to grab it." That's how they explain some of the stuff. So it actually is really cool. It is kind of cool, and it's like a nice way to tie it in, to be like, it's not just random. But speaking of which, all right, the next song is something that I did do. This is a pretty famous song, by the way.
Love the riff in this one.
Okay.
Oh shit, guitar solo.
My one chance.
I guess Geoff really does play guitar. Chunky.
Breakdown, let's go.
That melody is so catchy.
Yeah. I wish I wrote it, but I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So
Can I ask one thing before you start?
Oh yeah.
Were you heavily influenced by Viscera Fest when you made this song?
No, actually, I was listening to a lot of battle tapes. I don't know if you guys know who battle tapes is. I was listening to them a lot for some reason, and when I was listening to this track, and I was like, what would be really, really cool? You can even hear it at the beginning and the end of the song. I added these like a tape machine starting and stopping, and the song's a little bit of a newer song. This is the original here. Doesn't say what date this actually got published. 83. So I wanted to be like, what if it was made like maybe a decade further? Like over, I don't need to like hammer home this like one sound that I did for a different track you'll hear. I think it can be, this one is just such a well-known piece of music. The most important thing is to make it a fun song and make it something that people can listen to a lot. And I decided to go that route instead of like getting super particular about sound design aspects of it. And I think that's what ended up happening at the end of the day. I think like the riffing and the guitar solo and stuff, like, what is that? That's fun. That's like repetitive listening stuff. That's what I wanted out of it. Anyway, I just wanted to show you a bit of what the original song sounds like. This is not the version that I got to use, but this is a version of the song. I think a live performance.
There it is.
There it is. There's the riff. Guy's playing a guitar in the background. That's awesome. Yeah, so you can hear like a lot of old synthesizer-y sounds and things going on. Let's get through the first chorus. This is a song about the Russian cosmonauts. It's literally a space song. So that's the original song. So this song has a lot of history, and I'm one of those people that goes and I listen to tons of other people's covers to see what's already been done. How are people covering the song? What are the types of stuff? And I realized like there was a twist on this that I didn't think anybody had done, which is to change the entire instrumentation. Like, what if the singer wasn't playing in a 5-piece band with a guitar? I wanted to modernize the song quite a bit. But in terms of choosing sounds that have maybe cultural relevance or something like that, there was only one song that I did that with. It might actually just be, yeah, it is. It's this next song coming up. Oh, there was that question about stems. No, I didn't get any stems. These songs don't have stems, really. I mean, I'm sure they do somewhere, but they, as far as I understand, what they did was they licensed the songs from the labels, and then they could do whatever they wanted with them, remix them, do whatever. This was right when I started to discover the stem splitter stuff. Basically, you upload it, and then it separates the guitars and the drums and the vocals and all that stuff. So I used those to create these. So I ripped the vocals out of the song, cleaned them up, and then built a whole new instrumental instead of...
Do those sites work well, like with vocals, for example, like effects and stuff like that?
Yes and no.
Or do you have to clean them up yourself?
I had to clean up every single one, but some of them, the way that they rip stuff, basically the issue is whether or not you have missing information or too much information. So the ones that work really well give me all of the vocal information plus a little bit of background bleed, and I can get rid of the background bleed, or I can hide it. And that's the majority of what I did. Some of them, like, you get these kind of weird phasey versions of vocals where they drop whole words and stuff, and because it can't pick it up, and I try to avoid that. So you always want more, and then you can cut stuff as opposed to the other way around. So that's the situation that I was in. All right, let's move on. This is another one you recognize from trailers. You guys don't know how hard it was to figure that part out.
I love those little electronic breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
What guitar did you play for this?
I will tell you.
Is this a Juno that you put in it?
Oh, the synth?
The part with the synths. Yeah.
No, I think it was Vacuum Pro. It's the same synth as that.
Oh.
So fucking sick.
Yeah, this definitely has more of your sound than the other track.
It feels very Geoff plays guitar, yeah.
Yeah, this is like, I think a lot closer to the process actually was very similar to like Levitica Void.
I was about to say it feels very like Fight Between Realms kind of.
Yeah, it's the tight drums and guitars lined up. The guitar type. You asked me what guitar I used. It is just like Levitica Void. It's like a 50-50 split between a synth and the guitar. The song is in B minor, which is like a really weird key to be in. So I'm playing. Yeah. I originally designed the song on a 7-string guitar, and for this version of the song, I ended up re-recording all of the guitar parts with this Fender Stratocaster. So it's actually all single coil. So that's why it's kind of like this weird twangy version. And the amplifier that I used was I tried to get like the old, I can't remember what type of Fender amp, but it's like the old kind of, bluesy crunch Fender amp. and then I just cranked it as far as it would go. So like it's like trying to be metal, but none of the parts are metal. So I wanted this like old-timey sound to get just turned up to 200%. It's all running through like older amplification emulation, stuff that's not really meant to be metal. And I think it creates this like really super tight sound, like, because it's not, metal guitars tend to be very washy and big, and they have a lot of noise in them. And
Yeah, it was very clear.
it's
Yeah,
perfect.
it was
It's super
very
clear,
tight.
but still heavy. And like that's kind of what I was shooting for with that. It's extremely edited, to be fair. Like it's a synth on top of a guitar. Like everything is like, the guitar is basically a synthesizer. It's so tight. There is another part of that story, which is it's kind of a thrash tune. You know, it's got this kind of thrash metal vibe to it. The story goes that I saved Arlekino for the last song because let's listen to the original. The original is like, what the heck do I do with this song? You'll realize why I waited to do this one.
Holy shit.
Is this? Oh my god!
This is the actual original song. And if people make jokes about it being a circus song or clown song, it is. Yeah, so like, hey Geoff, we want to turn Arlekino into a combat track. I'm like, what the heck do I do? So there was a couple of options, right? This is it's like a 6/8. Well, it's a swing beat, so it naturally has triplets in it. So you can do like a BFG division, digga 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 type of thing. And I didn't want to do that because I don't want to keep copying Doom stuff. Like I really want to get away from just sounding like a Doom copycat. And so I was like, let's not do that. So the alternative was, we need to get rid of the swing beat. So even the chorus, listen. In this part, I was like, what the heck do I do? So much reverb too. Okay, you get the point.
I am very impressed.
Yeah, so it's like,
way you turned
how
that
did you go?
into-
How do you go from that to this? So you'll notice right off the bat, I had to manually, and this took me like a full day, I had to go in and remove the swing beat from the vocals. I had to line up her vocals to be on beat with a 4/4 straight beat in order to make the rest of the instrumentation work. And that took forever, but it was worth it because the song becomes power metal pretty much right away, right? Because she just has such a big voice during the chorus. Like, like she sings full voice in that, right? And as soon as I did that and I lined the chorus up, I was like, this is gonna work so well. The other part of that story is when I was about to start the song, so I had just wrapped up the previous song and I was about to start this one, I was told that Alex Terrible was gonna do vocals. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's write a song that Alex Terrible would sound great on. So I actually there's 3 versions of this song that exist. There's the vocal demo version, which is I wrote the entire song out on a 7-string guitar. I played some bass real quick. I just did some drums real quick. And the intention there was to send to Alex to have him record his vocals. That version of the song ended up in a trailer. So you can hear that version, which you're probably like, where is the song on the soundtrack? It's the Alex Terrible 7-string version, then her voice on top of it, because I wanted the vocal guides there, right? The team, I guess, liked it enough to put it in a trailer, and I was just like, whoa, okay. But then also we needed to get the song done quickly, and we were just waiting on Alex to do the vocals, and we realized we were kind of running up against the clock. So I went, you know what? I'm gonna do a version with her vocals that works with her vocals, the thing that I intended for her vocals. I'm gonna do that while we're waiting. So I went back and I made this version of the song, keeping in mind that the original version of the song was actually the heavy version. First take of the song is the Alex Terrible take. And this is like my version, almost like a cover of the cover, which is kind of interesting, right? But I didn't want it to be so heavy because her vocals are not screaming, right? So they don't really make sense to use a 7-string. It doesn't make sense to do super heavy chugs or things like that. It's thrashy, it's tight, but it's like stylistic, and that works here. Yeah. Okay, so the next song that's coming up is the first song that I worked on for Atomic Heart. You were talking about how you were hoping to hear the trailer song, the Mick Gordon trailer song. It's like the like that song. And I didn't really have any references. I didn't know what was going to be ending up in the game. This was also a first trial run for me because they're going to hear what I can do, and then, you know, whether or not we continue working together. This first song sort of depended on it. And I knew that it was going to be heavy. I knew it was going to be a combat track, and I didn't have a sound design reference to go on. So I just used that trailer as my sound design reference and kind of just sort of came up with things that sounded sort of in the same realm.
Well, then it's going to sound amazing. I can tell.
It's also a blues track. This is Argent Blues. This is an 8-string guitar, for sure.
I can tell.
So it's slightly out of tune. That background sound, the wow! That's what me using the trailer reference.
Oh yeah. Is this a patch?
Yeah, it's a serum patch, actually. I can send it to you. The whole idea was to make it super robotic and rhythmic. Very straight beat, very tight.
This is what it would sound like if robots made blues.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Right? You guys are not ready for what this music video actually looks like.
Well, I'm super excited.
It's campy. Vladimir Kuzmin is the guy.
Oh.
And it's like a movie. Like, he does a whole thing. That's true, like, blues rock is a word for it.
Oh, I thought it was like normal blues. That's why I asked, like, why is there distortion in the vocals?
Oh, yeah, it's not like...
It was...
No, it's like this style. Stevie Ray Vaughan type of stuff.
Nice.
So these are the vocals that I use.
Yeah.
Violin solo.
Let's go.
Right, exactly. What the... What is happening?
What is here? What is this?
They're breaking the fourth wall.
Oh, it's after the video.
It's funny, I really couldn't find that much else from him. It's like he had like one hit and then... So... I don't know what's going on. One other thing that I did do, at the beginning, I sort of made this assumption that what they wanted to do was do a seamless transition between the old song and the new song. I didn't really know where it was going to be placed. And so I actually did a grid-aligned version of the original song. When I sent it to them, I was like, check this out. And I put it into W-Wise, and I had the song playing, and I had them all playing at the same time. And then you could just change like the fight intensity, and it would transition into the song exactly where the vocals were at, and it sounded like perfect between the song. Now that I saw the game, like I'm like, oh, that was too much. They didn't need to. They didn't need any of that stuff.
That would have been a very cool effect.
It would have been cool. The cool thing about that is because I had to grid align every song. Anyway, every single one of these remixes that I did perfectly aligns with the grid aligned version of the original song. So I have versions that will transition for every song that I did. So, you know, maybe someone will use that effect somewhere. Oh, there's no bass guitar in this song. It's just a synthesizer. The glitching sound in the background. All that stuff going on in the background. That's the original song run through a bunch of grain glitch effects. Okay, let's move on. A couple of these in a row are not mine.
It has a type of Hotline Miami type of like beat to it.
It's very like not minimal house, but it's a house spot. I think this is actually at the beginning of the game. You can see the robot playing the keyboard, and I think this is the song that plays.
Oh.
Okay, just diving right in. There's 3 songs in a row, same guy, same song, remixed differently. So we'll just rip right through them. This is kind of like the Andrew Wong, what is it, 5 producers flip the same sample, except it's the same guy flipping the same song 3 times.
This is like driving the car in the middle of the night type of vibe.
Oh yeah. Or would this be considered synthwave? It's like definitely
yeah, it is.
mid-tempo.
I think Yeah, I think it's like 80s type of synthwave.
Just calls it slowed down version. Funk. There's funk. Funk isn't his name. That's a genre.
That's a genre, yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm actually not that familiar. I like the lead on top of this.
Yeah.
Saw lead. The drum and bass mix.
Let's go.
I thought it was interesting when he made the vocals even slower. And I'm like, why would you go slower? It's a drum and bass. And then,
Yeah.
there it is. Thanks, Charles, for posting some funk for me. I'm not a funk connoisseur. This guy definitely ripped the vocals out like I did with the stem splitter.
Oh.
Because you can only hear the vocals. It's really clean. Cool. That one's pretty fun. So this is the original song that he just flipped 3 times.
Море буду разом, кораблем и водолазом, сам себя найду в пучине.
It's got kind of like a pop
Если
singer
часом
vibe.
затону.
It's 86.
Yeah, it does.
It's got a folky accordion vibe. It's amazing they found a crowd that can clap in time. Rolling the credits.
Карельских скал земли, водолазы ищут клады.
All right, so there's your mustache right there. All the robots were modeled after that guy. This definitely has like, man, the credits run for like half the song. This kind of has like a almost a game show vibe to it, and I don't really know what. I don't know much about this song, but
It sounds like, it looks like a wedding.
it does kind of. You might be right.
But they also have like these kind of pins on their
Yeah.
shirts. This could be a game show, actually.
Could be. Definitely separated the vocals, you can tell. Got rid of the clapping, you know? Like it's, like the clapping definitely would have come through. We got to move on. We got a lot of soundtrack left. So the next one is another one of mine. I wasn't really sure what to do with this one because it didn't lend it. The tempo is weird. The time of the song is weird. The structure of the song is weird. None of it lends itself to combat music very well. And so I really was like, I did a version of the song and I sent it to them and they're like, I really like the song, but I'm not sure what to do with the combat. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I ended up adding an extended version of the song. You'll hear the difference between the two. And I hope you like either one or both, you know, for what they are.
Сегодня праздник у девчат.
Is this the combat version or like is there a different one?
There's a different part, second half.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you're probably like, what are you fighting to this song? This isn't really combat music. The speed of the song is like 150 or something.
Dubstep tempo, rhythm dubstep.
Yeah. And that tempo is just really awkward for combat. I actually lined this up against some gameplay footage from like trailers and stuff, and I was like, it just doesn't work. So then I just did my best with this second half, which you'll hear in a sec, does some rhythmic things to make it more palatable to the combat, you know, based on the
I
actual
hear
gameplay.
stuff distorting. I feel like something's coming.
Here we go. Call back to the original song.
This almost feels like a Animals is Leaders song. It has that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
The tempo changes so much.
The kind of the floating ambient stuff.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's what they're called, but like the dotted like stops and like with the bass, the stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's got like the thumb plucking, whatever
Yeah,
it's called,
like-
the thumping sound.
I wouldn't mind hearing the first version in combat as well. I like when like there's a huge difference between what I'm seeing on screen and what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people like that in
Yeah.
games.
Well, that's
But I'm a fan of that.
yeah.
Or you're fighting like some sort of android disco bear with a Ushanka on the like a sequence metal.
Yeah, they have to like design
be awesome.
the game around the song, like in order to do that. There's also like the stylistic thing where you create the contrast because there's a moment, you know, you're supposed to feel a certain way, kind of like the end of Elden Ring when the music gets quieter when you're fighting the Elden Beast. You're like, this has got to be a big emotional moment. It's the end of the game type of thing, and this could have been that situation, but based on where they were in development and when I did this song, that was not the case. They were just like, we need more music. Like, do you want to do this one too? And I'm like, sure. So I did it. And I'll show you what the original sounds like.
Сегодня праздник у девчат.
It's a great low budget video.
Платочки в руках.
So structure of this song
Потому что на
is
10
a little weird.
По статистике 9 ребят. Сегодня пусть мне повезло.
So, okay, the confusing part, first of all, if you look down at the bottom here, timestamp, it's only 1 minute and 39 seconds. The entire song is 1.5 minutes long.
Oh.
So I was just like, okay, that's not enough music for me to turn around, right? I can't just do a one-to-one kind of remix. I have to break this apart and do something a little bit more songwriting-y for it. So I ended up adding, as you heard, a couple of parts like the main melody. Not in the original song, right? But it's based on the vocal parts. So it's sort of inspired by some of the same melodies that she's singing. And at that point, I was only at about 2 minutes and change. Like I was like maybe 2:10, and I was like, it's still not enough. So and at that point, I was getting a sense that the song itself was just not great for what they needed it for. And I didn't want to change the speed of the song. I didn't want to slow her vocals down or speed them up because it sounded weird as well. I wanted this to just be reminiscent of the original. So I was like, I guess that what we got to do is just write more music. So I sent it to them. I got the feedback I expected, and then I had already started writing a second part. Where is this? So yeah. Oh, somebody else remixed the song as well. Electronic Mix, a bit of a different take on the song. So let's dive into that.
Сегодня праздник у девчат.
Vote for breaks.
Девчонки стоят. А парни важности полны.
My man going crazy with the 303.
Сегодня пусть мне
It's a cool sound. I like that.
It's very prodigy sounding.
Ooh, cool rhythm switch.
This sounds like a track you hear in The Matrix or something like that.
It's true, yeah. Well, this could be combat music, actually. It does sound like you're gonna shoot somebody in slow motion. That club outro, gotta have it. Okay, we're moving right on to this one. I've actually heard this one before because I couldn't help myself to listen to the soundtrack. I really like this remix. I think this guy made a couple of really great choices for this song, and it just sounds sick. This original song is a little bit newer, though. This isn't an oldies song, really.
This sounds sick.
It does sound sick. And he auto-tuned the vocals. That's one thing that I think is a really cool idea.
Yeah, kind of got GLaDOS vibes.
Yeah. We have to listen to the original after this and see if it's the same. So the analog synth stabs are just so beautiful. Just such a good use of using the vocals as atmosphere, as well as being a vocal.
Exactly, yeah.
They really float around in the headphones, like he's sort of using the effects to just so cool and perfect for the song. Ooh. So I went and I looked this guy up. Definitely somebody that hadn't been on my radar before, and has a bunch of tracks that sound like this. So this is the original song called Golden Hoop. It is already sort of electronic. I'm going to listen to see if there's auto-tune on the vocals. No, he auto-tuned the vocals. They sound a lot more flat in his mix.
Who was it that made the remix?
A guy named
NEUS, I think.
Yeah.
NEUS.
NEUS.
NEUS? Oh, dude, I've been listening to that guy forever.
NEUS.
Oh, dude, yeah, a ton of his music sounds like that. You should check him out.
Yeah, I will definitely be listening to him more.
He's
I
great.
followed him on Spotify.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
Yes. Only 17,000 listeners? No, he deserves more.
He does. I think it's awesome, the stuff that he does.
Dude, I think he remixed Happy by Pharrell the same way, and it kicks ass. Actually, wait, let me look that up. Oh yeah, this was forever ago. I used to play it at DJ's.
Yeah, definitely share that because I need more. This song got remixed 3 times. 3 different people did it. Okay, let's move on to these other Golden Hoop remixes. Gamma Intel.
We like sound design.
It is. Really curious where the vocals are going to be used. Ooh, I like that.
It's a cool transition.
This is very moody.
Yeah, it is.
It's giving me like escaping a prison type of vibe. Like you're escaping a prison, no one has to see you.
Yeah, this kind of sounds like the actual soundtrack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There it is. There are the vocals. Interestingly pitched upwards. The timing of the vocals is really interesting. It's not really on anything in particular, but it adds this, like, it almost makes it like a spoken word kind of thing, which is, I don't know, man.
Maybe
That's a ton of atmosphere.
use more of an ambient effect rather than like vocals to be listened to.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of the previous one.
A lot of resonance automation.
I really like it when that's done well. There's another EDM guy named older project called Corporate that does a ton of that, and it sounds really, really cool. These are the locked chords. What kind of genre is this?
Kind of like trip hoppy.
Could be trip hop, yeah.
A little side trance.
Yeah, like some.
There's like slower schwangle stuff that sounds just like this.
I saw a cool tutorial the other day about using white noise pan to either side, and then using the FabFilter Pro Q EQ match to match the white noise to your hi-hat, so you can stereoize them by adding essentially white noise. I definitely want to try that.
Oh, nice.
And I'd use an envelope filter to change the speed so they trigger on the hi-hats. Here's a remix from the guy who did the first song, Mujuice. That was a cool vocal transition into the pulse in the background. I like that. I really like this break. The little synth in the background. So nice. Oh, hello.
Oh, damn. That's one hell of a transition.
Yeah, music box. It's the middle break. I love when people find one good accompanying instrument. Like just the music box and the vocals creates, it's a vibe right away. There's the bendy synth, it's back.
But wait.
The bendy synth in that definitely, I think, was the real MVP. There was like a part in the beginning, near like the first chorus or something like that, where this bendy synth was like matching the vocal line, and it like sort of dragged behind the vocals, and I thought that was kind of cool. It took a little bit for me to be like, what am I hearing right now? But then I started to realize what was going on. This next one is the Combat Trailer song, or most of it. The Combat Trailer song is actually 2 songs. The end of it is a different song, but the vast majority of it is this one, which you will recognize. And the Combat Trailer song is this song in the sense that it's the exact same song until the 3rd verse, which is just the extension. So you probably will have heard the first 2/3 of the song already. And then I just made it a full-length song so that we could, publish it on the soundtrack. Remember I did a different version of this that ended up online. That was like the first go around of this song, but it was too much for the trailer. The trailer had too many things going on, and the song was like way too busy, so we ended up stripping it way down later. That's why the opening to this song is kind of empty, because it's actually making space for explosions and shotgun noises and stuff like that. I think this is where the trailer had already ended.
Pretty good.
Thank you very much. So that is Starry Summer, another Alla Pugacheva track. This is not the same version. This is a live one, but I wanted to show you. It basically sounds exactly the same as this. This is a really close take. This is what pop stardom was back then. For everybody. Am I stem splitting it? Yeah, I did. This version of the song wasn't the one that I split, but it sounds very similar. And it's her singing. It's just, I think, maybe the studio recording version of the song. Mm-hmm. And the song actually, the thing about studio recordings back in the, I'd say between the 50s and the 80s, is they hadn't really figured out how to do like stereo balance yet. Like they wanted your stereo system to sound like a live performance. And that's why when you listen to old songs by The Doors, you hear the drums that are all panned to the left. And you're like, why the heck would you do that? And it's like, because they wanted it to be a real experience. And eventually you start to get this drum-centered instruments split evenly across the board, vocals in the middle type mix. Right. And this one, the version that I split anyway, has these guitars panned all the way to one side, has a really strong, like that flute sound or whatever that is, all the way on the other side. Her vocals are sort of floating around. And so I just get this song was tough because I had this bleed from the instruments just floating all over the place that I had to deal with. And I ended up, if you listen to the original again, especially at the beginning, I left in a lot of the original instrumentation, and then it sort of transitions out into a more electronic version of the song. And that was for the trailer. That was kind of the intention there. You can hear where the instruments and stuff are placed because I couldn't really move them around that much. See that hard pan flute? It's like all the way in the left speaker. That's just how the recording is, you know. In addition, during the stem split, because this is a really old song, I got a lot of bleed in the vocal take from these instruments. So the guitars float in every so often, the flutes float in every so often. So by not moving the instrument placement, it creates the illusion of the mix being intentional as opposed to me trying to force things in places and having like a ghost flute show up in one side of the, you know, you can hear it on the headphones. And you know, I just kind of like went, this is the situation I'm in. We got to mix it this way. And it ended up working out fine. You can do a lot of things to hide the imperfections in the vocals and stuff like that. The vocals are processed pretty heavily. This was, I think this one came right after Casanova. So it was the second track that I did, as far as I know. And I had gathered a bunch of like metallic percussion because I still was kind of in that Mick Gordon trailer from a couple of years ago mindset. And I got a couple of songs out that sounded like that. But then as I moved forward through the soundtrack, I kind of was able to explore a little bit. It was a truck going by. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's listen to two very different songs. I think these might be originals, but I'm not sure. As far as I can tell, they're live performances too, and they sound really cool. So let's give it a listen.
I wonder which boss fight this plays in.
If it is a live performance, which it sounds very live, because there's no seams on any of the instrumentation at all, it just sounds perfectly natural, then this is a really good performance. I could be wrong though. Some people are just really, really good at the VSTs and non-contact libraries.
That was actually very nice.
That was very nice.
On like the deep left, you can hear either some crackling of someone like adjusting their chair or like tapping some strings. I hear something in the background.
Yeah, I think that's
does not sound like contact.
I think that's the piano. It's the piano.
Yeah.
The hammer's moving. This next one is something very similar. So let's give it a listen.
gives you like fancy party like type groups where they play at fancy parties.
It does,
Give
yeah.
me that vibes.
It is called Tango. I think seems like that's the idea. I wonder where this is in game. I don't think I've heard it yet. That accordion. I snuck in an accordion in Arlekino because of something like this. I kind of figured it would happen. I'm imagining more of the soundtrack. Yeah, assuming there's a volume 2, more of the soundtrack is going to have stuff like this. I don't think it's all going to be live performers, but I think there's going to be more orchestral stuff. And I've heard some of it in the game already, so I know like there's more to be had. I usually don't expect a game to be wall-to-wall heavy metal, even if they do one song or something. You know, it's usually just
unless you're playing Doom Eternal.
Well, that's the exception. Yeah, like that's like and arcade style games are like that too. Any game where the music doesn't have to really be part of the environment. Like the whole point of Doom was to, what did they say? Push forward combat was the term they used, the banner, right? And heavy metal's perfect for that, for the entire game. But for stuff that's more adventure-y and stuff that has story beats and moments and downtime and action time, you end up with this variety. And usually it's more on the relaxed end of the spectrum than it is on the action end. There's like, you know, a handful of tracks that are going to be action-y. There's 3 more tracks left. There's these 2 and then the one that didn't make it to the official soundtrack, but is very much still part of the game. So, okay, this is an original. I'm not going to tell you when it plays, but I'm pretty happy with where it ended up in the game. It's the only song that I was given forward heads up and some footage for, like specifically do this music for this part of the game. So I actually wrote this with that part of the game in mind, which kind of explains why it sounds the way that it does. But I don't want to tell you where. Okay. Cool. So that's one.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It gave you Mastermind like type of vibes from
Yeah.
Doom 2016.
Well, that's kind of like, yeah, I knew that this one wasn't going to be a heavy metal track. And after watching the footage and watching the lead up to this scene and all that stuff, I got like some context about it too. I kind of knew deep down that heavy metal wouldn't make that much sense. But one theme that had been very present in Atomic Heart, and I can hear it a lot in the early game, is that there's a lot of like emphasis on kind of a destroyed orchestra sound. You know what I mean? With this kind of like Russian synthesizer sound mixed in, especially with, you know, a lot of mix work and maybe even, I don't know for sure, but I assume that there was some early conversations about how that all could be used together. So what you're hearing in this track is a combination of as much Russian synthesizer stuff as I could find. And then I'm going into the orchestra side, and most of the drums that you hear, actually I think 100% of the drums that you hear are Orchestral Tools Metropolis Arc 1, the drum set in that. So literally the orchestra drum set is doing the fills. And then I'm using action hits that have like a big bass drum sort of sound to them. And then I'm distorting the bejesus out of them. Like they're the kind of da-da-da-da-da-da. All the percussion and everything is all orchestra. And then you can hear moments where I'm sneaking in lots of strings. You've got the risers, you've got the big horn lines. And then I'm replacing the low end with synthesizer work. So, you know, there's not really any cellos or anything in the song. Not often anyway. No basses, things like that. That actually gets replaced with like Vacuum Pro and some of the others. So that was sort of the vibe I was going for. And then when you hear where it is in the game, you'll probably get a sense of why I chose to pick the tempo that I did and a bunch of other things. That's the story behind that particular piece of music. And I hope you end up getting to that part in the game. Okay, last song on the official soundtrack. Another original from me. This is the one that people keep saying is Mick Gordon. So this is the Doom guitar one. This is the second half of, or the end of the combat trailer. There's a small piece of it in there as well. Okay, without further ado.
I love this part, even the trailers.
Yeah, just straight punches. That's the end of that combat trailer that you heard.
Yo.
Holy shit.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is, as you could hear, I wrote that song to sound like you're fighting big robots. Like it's kind of like almost mech battle. I tried to get away from being like overly Doom. I wanted to add a couple more like more robotic elements, which is basically what the writing is. So like Oh no, somebody's getting arrested.
Dude, I thought that was part of the song again for a
No,
second.
I just live in the city with the windows open and things happen. So the straight beat parts of the song were this attempt to be more Atomic Heart than to be overly doom. Like, I think a lot of games can have heavy metal in them, but you gotta bring certain elements into the mix that are like unmistakably that game and without just sounding too much like doom. You know what I mean? One other thing, the name, I don't think anybody's guessed it yet. The name is PT-1X12. Does anyone know what that is a reference to?
Not at all.
Who I...
Pacific Rim, maybe?
Season 1, episode 12.
No. Some people were like, is it a guitar cab? I was like, no. If you hear the first riff of this song, let's go back and listen to it. Any thoughts so far? Does that clear anything up yet? Or is it too hidden?
Not at all.
Okay. PT-1X12 is a hidden serial number version of Peter Tchaikovsky 1812, which is what the song is based on. That's what that riff is, turned into minor. Yeah, so I was kind of given a general, like, you know what I was doing? I was reading the Atomic Heart website, and they had talked about their conversations with Mick, and, you know, we got to mix some Peter Tchaikovsky, and we got to do whatever. And I was like, why don't I just do that literally? Like, I think it would be fun. It just pulls directly from all the limited information I was given. Why not? It sounds like it's a little bit on the nose, and it kind of is, but it wrote a whole song. It wrote it very quickly, actually. Once I had that part, I was like, that's a good place to start. Last one. It didn't make it to the official soundtrack. I did actually hear it in the game, and this is the Arlekino remix with Alex Terrible's vocals. And as I said before, this is what the Arlekino song was originally intended to be. It was written with his vocals in mind, and then I retrofitted it to do the song that made the soundtrack, which is like the more stylized version. But yeah, this like thrashy metal version, this is the one. And it kind of like, it might be too metal for Atomic Heart. So anyway, here we go.
You basically made deathcore.
Oh yeah. You write songs different when you know somebody's gonna scream. Go back and listen to the trailer with Arlekino. You'll hear that part.
This is so different from the other version you did.
I know, right? But it's the exact same. The bass song is the exact same thing. It's on a 7-string guitar. I think I changed the riffs up a little bit. Here's the Demolisher part.
Those lows. Are we getting a breakdown?
Well, the song structure is exactly the same as the other one, so if you remember how the ending of that one goes. And now you know why I did this. This little ending has nothing to do with the song. That's just part of the video they put out. Yeah, so that's the reason I did the slowdown at the end is because I wanted him so bad to do it this way. And then when I got the vocals back, I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted. People know the song is like circusy and clowny, so when they hear it, they're just like, this is super weird, you know, if they know the original. There's in the break part where you asked about the breakdown, and he's doing like the Demolisher kind of like spoken word thing. I took an accordion playing the and slowed it way down, and then had it playing like really detuned, messed up versions of it.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so it's like extra creepy. Yeah. Hey, we made it through everything. That's everything that's out so far. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it.
This has been very fun. Hopefully we can do this for like volume 2 as well.
I plan on it. I would love to. Take it easy, everybody.
Awesome.
Peace.
Bye, dudes.
Peace.
Bye.